Good morning. I have this feeling that Marla always sets me up when she introduces me. But let me speak to you as I reflected and prepared for the opening. What is it that I would like to share with you? So I start with a question I often ponder: choice or chance? Good morning. Welcome to the official opening of the Da Vinci Institute academic year. I would like to believe that none of you are here by chance. That each of you, every single one of you, are here as a result of a conscious and deliberate choice. One of the inordinate privileges I have when I travel around the world and to experience various cultures, societies, economies, and people is to reflect on the similarities and the difference between various countries, various cities. I have no unconditional positive regard for any single political, economic, social, or cultural system. Neither do I have a simplistic theory that somehow, magically, will make things better. Nor do I propose some divine blueprint for success. I do, however, remain scholarly and a keen and conscious observer of the relative levels of social and economic development that impacts on the material conditions of people and the quality of their lives, the levels of prosperity and education, to name a few. And in every instance, my thoughts involuntarily turn to South Africa, wherever I am, whether it's walking the streets of Turin or looking at the wonderful reconstruction of the Notre Dame in Paris, or enjoying the MRT in Singapore, or a lovely restaurant in the middle of London. Every time I think back home. And when I do that, I'm filled with overwhelming emotions and often a deep sadness when I wish that things would be different and indeed better at the place I call home. Can I have some water? I wish, for example, that after almost 3 decades of democracy, that we would have made more progress in addressing the stubborn residue of poverty and inequality. I wish that we would have experienced a far greater level of inclusive economic growth. I wish that the quality of education would better prepare our young people for an exponentially changing world, and that we would have knocked the indignity of unemployment out of the park through the creation of abundant and meaningful job opportunities. It saddens me that 7 out of every 10 young people cannot find work, that more than 70 people lose their lives through violent crime every day in the place I call home, that our communities are still rife with incidents of gender-based violence, that many children still go to bed hungry at night, and that thousands of our fellow South Africans sleep on the street or under a bush. My day job, as you have been informed, as the taxman, with the support of 12,500 people who work with me. Thank you. My day job as a taxman, with the support of the 12,500 people I'm privileged to work with every day, affords me a unique and privileged opportunity to make a meaningful and measurable contribution to building a better society. It is the only purpose for which we work. It funds the infrastructure that enables economic growth. It provides the resources to transform the lives of the most vulnerable among us in the provision of safe schools, clinics, community centers. Our work serves a higher purpose that provides a safety net to 29 million people, keeping them from being completely destitute without that monthly grant. We do this work not through chance, but through choice. In fact, we make many choices every day, mindful of the impact that each of these severally and all of them collectively can make towards building the South Africa that every citizen deserves. I reflect regularly to better understand why some nations do better than others, why some have experienced higher levels of economic growth and measurably improved the material conditions and the experience for every one of their people. Thus, my ponder, are we here by choice or by chance? The authors of Why Nations Fail, in addressing the origins of power, prosperity, and poverty, reflect on 3 hypotheses to understand why nations fail or succeed. In the geography hypothesis, the consideration of the chance of location. The proponents of this hypothesis would argue that the influence of geographic location, physical landscape, climate, and natural endowment has a strong relationship to a country's development. Then there is the culture hypothesis, which considers the chance of birth. You just happen to be born in the right place and in the right country. Since birth often endows us with culture, beliefs, values, and ethics, what is the relationship, therefore, between aspects such as culture, beliefs, and ethics on the nature of social development and economic prosperity? And then the third, the ignorance thesis. These proponents would argue that intellect may have some influence. They would argue that poor countries are poor because they lack the fundamental knowledge and understanding that underpins social and economic development and are thus denied levels of prosperity experienced elsewhere. In a compelling rebuttal, the authors argue that geography and culture are insufficient as determinants of success, that equality is not a lack of knowledge that holds some countries back. They advance the view that the greatest determinant of human prosperity is human choice. Not where you were born, not how smart or how clever you are, and not what you believe or otherwise. While aspects such as location, culture, and knowledge all have a bearing, it is ultimately choice, not chance. The decisions and choices made by leaders are far greater determinants of success or failure. Leadership choices either set a country on a path of prosperous growth or condemn them to a path of stubborn and perpetual misery and poverty. The choice to build a capable state with strong inclusive political and economic institutions. The choice to limit the power of the political and business elite minority who often collude to advance their narrow self-interest at the expense of the common good. The choice of policies that results in a fertile environment to reach full economic and social potential. The choice to create an environment that enables and incentivizes investment, nurtures innovation and fosters a healthy level of competition. The choice to protect property rights, enforce the rule of law, and deal decisively with crime and corruption so that citizens can feel safe. The choice to invest in relevant and appropriate human capital. The choice to organize ourselves to win. The choice to advance social cohesion and inclusiveness. These are choices. Conversely, in countries where leadership choices give rise to extractive political and economic institutions, the concentration of power in the hands of a small elite, the plundering of the public purse, the stifling of efficiency, competition, and innovation, and ultimately the marginalization of the most vulnerable in society. These countries fail to experience the requisite level of growth and prosperity. Inequality and poverty stubbornly remain. Choices are not inevitable. It is not a given that disorder and slow progress remain the order of the day. Choices are made by people like you and me. Leadership choices matter. When we exercise the inordinate privilege and the freedom of choice, it would be important that we do so with a level of mindfulness and intent of the society we wish to create for ourselves, and more importantly, for our children. Institutions of higher learning, such as the Vinci, provide an opportunity for each of us to consider the choices we make as a society, but also each of us as individuals and as leaders in our own right. Your choice to come to Da Vinci already set you apart from many who do not have this privilege. The privilege of a higher education is still the preserve of a relatively small minority. If you are here today or listening online, you are 1 out of every 10. In other words, there are 9 others who are not here enjoying the privilege you do. If you are registered and will qualify with a PhD or doctoral degree, you will be 1 out of 100 who will enjoy this privilege. There will be 99 other people who will not have it. I therefore wish to encourage each of you to remain mindful of this choice and ensure that you exercise it with indomitable sense of purpose and the resolute commitment to leave the world a better place than you found it. Be the best version of yourself. Be great. And as Collins reminds us, greatness is a choice. Go beyond great. Be remarkable. You don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to become great. It is indeed choice, not chance, that will make all the difference. Thank you, and my best wishes for a remarkable academic year.